Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the Ashes of Faith box. But this has been provided to me by Games Workshop for free, so thanks goes to Games Workshop. But as always, I aim to be honest, impartial and constructively critical. But before we go forwards, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. Do you agree or disagree? Do you like it? Unlike it? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and then a affiliate link in Element Games if you're able to actually buy this box. But let's get on with it. So yeah, this is the first narrative box release we've gotten for Kill Team, which is actually pretty neat because, you know, we've had only competitive box releases effectively, but this is a box mainly for narrative play, but it does have competitive rules. So inside the box, you get the Kill Team. You get a lot of sprues, but it's a mix of the Chaos Mutant Demons, the Chaos Cultists, and then the Dark Commune. And then also you get five Tempestus Scions, 5 Sisters of Silence, and the new Inquisition sprue. Then you also get, you know, the book for the rules for both Kill Teams, as well as a campaign book and all the other campaign stuff to go along with it to track your progress, as well as a bunch of cards just for the campaign play as well. So that's actually quite a lot of content for the narrative side. There is no terrain in this box, but I think it's kind of offset by how many models you get, as well as all the tools you get to play your campaign, which is pretty great for this box. I don't know the prices of recording yet, but I'm hoping it's £125, because if it's around that price, that's a really good deal. But for what you get in the box is a lot. So starting off with the narrative side first, with the Ashes of Faith, you get this campaign rulebook, which has about 34 pages, you know, telling you all the details about the setting for this Kill Team box, as well as all the rules you need to play in the campaign. So it's set on the worlds of Exilus and Deepwell, which are just, you know, some nice settings for the world. And it actually goes a lot into depth about the planets you're playing on, with 2 pages each, as well as some nice artwork for each Kill Team, for each planet. So you actually get a feel for the setting and why these forces are actually playing against each other, as well as backgrounds on the Chaos Cults, as well as the Inquisitorial agent Kill Teams sent to mainly kind of dispatch these cases, as well as other incidents as well. Inside the Ashes of Faith campaign book, you find rules for how to play these campaign games with 2 players across a multitude of games. You get a dedicated card deck for the Inquisition, as well as Chaos, with like scheme cards, conspirator cards, and ruse cards, which all tie into how you play the campaign. You also get investigation reward cards and persuasion benefits, as well as a scorecard, which you can use to track the campaign progress of both Kill Teams, as well as their total points, because the way this box works is you play a multitude of games, and then at the final, based on how many points each player has, they get that many benefits. So the person obviously with more benefits, who has won more games, gets more benefits for the final game, where it all comes down to a conclusion. The interesting thing is you get this kind of double-sided cardboard to track everything, and you get stickers, which the book says are reusable, but I wouldn't want to test it. I've kind of saved it for when I actually play it in terms of as an actual campaign, but it's nice. It's way more invested than I thought Games Workshop would be. So, you know, it's actually pretty good presentation for this narrative box. For the campaign, you also get a campaign round. So you get like the battle stage where, you know, you play a game. Then you get your draft stage where each player earns 2 ruse cards and a number of conspirator cards determined by the victory points, so how well they did in the game. And then they get the scheme stage where they get to assign cards, and the dominant stage where their cards are revealed and their effects are determined and they get their rewards. And then you get the ritual. So after 6 rounds have been played, so 6 games, play 1 final game using a ritual mission chosen from the pages aforementioned. So a lot of the missions have their own scoring system, but basically based on the victory points you score in that game, you get that many conspirator cards. So even if you get beaten, as long as you've scored highly, you can still get your own benefits. Obviously, if you win, you get more, but it's a nice way they've allocated this out. You have different type of scheme cards. You have like control. So, you know, you can use it to take control of territories. Persuade, where you can, you know, try and bribe people to work for you, and investigate, where you just kind of sabotage or find places that have key interest. Conspirator cards have value of 1, and they increase your bid because you're trying to outbid the chaos. It represents you trying to gain control. So there's always this back and forth. It's never just a one-sided kind of thing. And then ruse cards are used to kind of like play against your opponent and bid cards. So it's all really, really actually nice, and there's a lot of depth gone into it. I find it quite fun, which is, as I said, I wasn't expecting too much, but it's really well done. And then you've got like the dominant stage, where after your game you determine actually who controls it. Obviously the one who did better needs to bid less points so they can kind of hold them back for future missions. So even if you've lost, doesn't mean you've lost control. It just means it's harder for you to actually gain control of your area, and it depends how much you force your opponent into bidding as well. So you've still got some nice back and forth. Then at the end of the campaign, you determine the winner. So you've got 2 different victory conditions, and each player can score one or both. So you've got a control victory. At the end of the final campaign, the player controlling the most territory wins. If it's a draw, the player persuading the most territory wins. If it's still a draw, the player with the most control and persuasion points wins. If it's still a draw, both players win this objective. So there's always going to be a winner, even if it's both players. And then you've got ritual victory. Play one final game known as the ritual. The Chaos Cult player selects one campaign territory to play the game in and one ritual mission. In this game, players do not select TAC Ops. The mission objective is too important. If the Chaos Cult player wins the game, they win this objective. If it's a draw or the Inquisition player wins, they win this objective. You still want to win both, but there's a chance you can draw out. And then you've got earn rewards. If you're using narrative play, at the end of the campaign, each player selects 2 rewards from the list below in addition to each campaign objective player 1. They can select 1 additional reward from the list below, and you can select the same reward more than once. So you get all those benefits there. So even if you've lost, you can still kind of swing it in the final game, which is nice. It's just if you've been winning, you have more advantages. So it's kind of balanced overall. Now, you also get lots of territory rules for each area fighting over. I'm only showing one page now because there's like, oh gosh, 7 pages of it altogether. And there are a lot of rules. So it's very varied based on where you're choosing to battle. And you may not play them all in a single playthrough, but that's why you can just redo the campaign again. But there's a lot of variance, and I like each place has its own twist to play. So especially if you're going really ham on the narrative and you start modeling your own kill team boards, you can really go ham with these like territory rules to really shape your kill team if you want to go that far. You also get a selection of missions as well to choose from, as it's already been hinted. They all look pretty good for narrative missions. Obviously, there's no terrain, but all the layouts look pretty good. And the missions are really interesting. Like, they're still more narratively focused, but they're more competitive in terms of they're less lopsided, and they're just really fun to play. So another great selection for missions here. And then at the back, you get a reference sheet covering all the rules before. So in case, you're mid-game, you can just look at those and basically everything there for you to calculate your points and how everyone's doing, which is great. Now we'll quickly go over the kill teams. I have done separate videos, which you can check out in the episode description on my channel, where I'll go to each kill team in depth, but I'll cover the ones you get in this box. So first we'll go over the Inquisitorial kill team, the Inquisitorial agent kill team. They're an interesting kill team. I think if you already read like the previews from Warhammer Community, you basically get 7 Inquisition models, and you can either run them as a full 12 operative kill team, but you don't get enough models, or you run them with ancillary support. So you can build like a kill team from using Vet Guard operatives, or Breach operatives, or Exaction Squad, or Kazakin, or Scions, or Sisters of Silence. And in the box, you get 5 Sisters of Silence and 5 Scions. So that's who you're using for this box. And it's really weird. They're a kill team that is very balanced, I think. There's a lot more depth to this kill team, so they're harder to play for new players, but they're very thematic. I like the models. I didn't too much at first, but they've grown on me, and the rules really shine on the models. It feels like, because I used to play a lot of Dark Heresy, these models remind me of Dark Heresy. They're all their own little characters, even though some aren't great. They all have their own unique quirks. And generally, you're probably only going to run, the 7 you get in the box, and then your 5 ancillary support. And it's just kind of a shame you only get Sisters of Silence and Scions, because the Sisters of Silence, you either get Witchblades, Flamers, or Bolt Guns, and then the Scions are just Kazakin with no real flair. You get 2 Gunners, a Comms, and a Medic, and that's pretty much it. Apart from a Tempestus Scion, it's okay. Right, and I feel like playing out of the box, the Inquisition feel quite weak, but they're much better when you sub in the other ancillary support. Unfortunately, I think you never run a full Inquisition-only kill team, just because they're not that good. They have a really good selection of ploys, like one of their tactical ploys. For 1 CP, after your opponent has played a ploy, you reveal it, they get refunded, but they can't use that ploy for the rest of the turning point. So you can really mess up kill teams, and they have a lot of great rules, right? The only thing is their operatives are quite weak, and they get more benefit from using mainly vet guards or breaches to an extent. They're a very flexible kill team. Like one of their special rules is they have a roster of 30, so you can take more operatives on your roster to tool around. It's just difficult. Like, they're very hard to play, and I think Games Workshop have been quite reserved because they knew the power that this kill team has, because you can take so many different combinations. It's better to be reserved instead of making them broken. I think they've done a good job there. My only problem is the leader as an Inquisitor agent is kind of bad. Like, I joked about him having like a crazy melee weapon. He just has his fists and an auto pistol that hits on freeze at short range and falls long range. He only has 8 wounds and he just dies. But after playing with them and, you know, using more models that you get in the outside of the box, they're really good. I think they rolled a lot of depth and they're fun to play. In the box, they're just a little bit rough. But, you know, they have the nice quirks that they can select any TAC op archetype. And, you know, they've got a decent TAC op with Faction TAC op 1, which is their kind of version of Rob and Ransack. It's just, if you're playing only from the box, you're going to find them very underwhelming. I think the biggest disappointment are the Scions, who just are 8 wounds. That's it. They don't have any special rules. And I feel the kill team, if it had like an additional 2 strategic ploys, just to kind of represent the volume of models you could take, it would have been better. Otherwise, they're fine. They're just, as I said, weaker in the box, which is weird. Then you've got the Chaos Cult kill team, which are 5 Dark Commune, 10 Chaos Cultists, and 8 basically possessed Chaos Cultists. So this kill team is really interesting. They can only select Infiltration and Seek and Destroy. And the way I would describe them is they're a fusion of Blooded and Galapox. So they're effectively an all melee team, but you start off with 5 Dark Commune, and then you get 10 Chaos Cultists who are all GA2 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, and then they got auto pistols. But their key thing is like they can mutate. So you can mutate once, well, it isn't written once, but it's supposed to be. But basically once per turning point, you can mutate a number of operatives equal to the turning point number. So turning point 1, you can mutate 1 operative, turning point 2, 2, and so on. And you can either mutate or heal. So you can mutate a cultist into a mutant, and then a mutant into a terror. So it's kind of this weird stage where this kill team gets more powerful as the game goes on, because, you know, it's more like you have to survive early, because you have effectively only like 10 activations when you first start, 11. And then as you go on, you start earning more as you start turning more and more people into mutants. And, you know, your leaders are all 8 wounds, but they're all really thematic, and it's quite good. Like, you just surge forward. The other way you can mutate, so you can mutate Chaos Cultists into mutants if they just fight and survive a combat. So they need to do damage and survive. But then when they mutate, they heal all their wounds. And you can only mutate into terrors via the strategic, by during the strategic phase, or via your leader, who can mutate 1 operative at turning point. And the other thing is, when you mutate your guys, you can give them a trait, and then when they're terrors, they get another trait that only terrors get. So if you're a terror, you get 2 traits, and if you're a mutant, you get 1, but they're all the same. So you don't pick differently each time. They're a very fun kill team. I think the only thing that's a bit overpowered with them is that mutants have a 5-up DPR. If they just had a 6-up, like the Galapox, which is what's probably going to happen, I think this kill team is perfectly fine. Otherwise, it's really fun. Definitely the stronger of the 2 in the box. Outside, still got the edge, but they're a very fun kill team, I think. It's just really fun to play, because you start off with all these like weedy Chaos Cultists, and then as it goes on, they just mutate and mutate, and you've got a really great Psycho. Your banner's great, even your leader's really good, and you've got like, it's just so thematic. It's a great kill team. Like, I was hoping this would be in the annual, but the way they've done it in this box is amazing. Really fun to play, and I think a lot of people are going to feel the same way. So overall, for the Ashes of Faith box, I think it's really neat. I actually really like the way Games Workshop has approached this. It's a fun narrative box with 2 pretty good kill teams that are really fun to play and are pretty balanced. And it's really refreshing compared to what we had with Gallowfall. Like, Love this box. It's great. So for pros and cons, I would say it's a great narrative box. You've got a really in-depth and thorough campaign rule system, even though you've got no terrain. So you've got a great way to play this great campaign system. You've got 2 really good kill teams. Like, they're just balanced and really fun to play. And they're just good. Like, it's hard. They're balanced and good to play. And also, it's the first box where we don't have terrain. And I know this is weird, but I really like that it doesn't have terrain, because we've also, we've got way more models, but a lot of people already have the terrain. So while it isn't great for new players to an extent, it's really good if you just want a narrative expansion. So great box. My cons are the Inquisition are weird in terms of, because you only get 7 models, you're kind of expected to buy 2 sprues, but what I probably would do is just convert the Inquisition you can't get. And that's the only real downside. The Inquisition are just, you only get 7 new models, and the ancillary support isn't great. Like, the Scions are really kind of phoned in a way. Like, they're just Kazakin with no unique stuff. So those are my own real downsides. Obviously, a downside is probably it will sell out and you won't get it. But I would recommend getting Ashes of Faith, even if you're competitive or casual, because if you're a casual player, you're going to love the narrative rule set. It's really fun. And if you're a competitive player, it's a really good value box, and you get 2 solid kill teams with lots of miniatures. It's really great to buy. Obviously, this is the caveat. If you can buy it, I would not buy from scalpers, yeah. If you can actually buy it from stores, if there's stock, I recommend it, right? And because I won't know what's happened because this video goes up at the same time as pre-order, all I can do is I hope everyone's been able to get a box. Hope. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my review for Ashes of Faith. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of this box. Did you like it? Do you not? Really interested to hear your feedback. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as an affiliate to Element Games if they have this in stock, where you can buy at about 15% discount. Well, no additional cost to yourself and helping support myself and the channel. And I've also got a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crew, I have Tool Bardin, Sam, NinjaLee83, Nicholas, Nick, Kenzie, John Thomas, Eric, Captain Murder, Dad of Goldens, Average Joe 27, and Arthur. And then for my veterans of the crew, I have Sandra. So thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Remember, I have an article version in the episode description below with slightly less content, as well as the 2 kill teams. But yeah, I am going to rest and finish the rest of my reviews and paint. Got a lot of paint to do. But yeah, so until next time, no matter how insidious your opponents may be, there's always a chance to win as long as you have faith in how many crits you can roll.